Hello and welcome to the Optimal Hemp podcast. I am Andy Bryan, the founder and director here at Optimal Hemp and also the host of the show itself. Today I'm here with John Liebling from the United Patients Alliance, and today we're going to be talking about what the United Patients Alliance stands for and what you're all about and how you make a difference in the CBD and hemp world. But for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, let me provide you with a brief insight as to what the show is all about. Because on the show we talk about all things hemp, from hemp for health and well-being, hemp for sustainability, eco-living, clothing, and t-shirts we wear. I've got a very nice hemp clothing brand, and obviously the t-shirt you're wearing there. You know, hemp has so many vast uses, it's incredible, and I truly believe it's a plant that can change the world. So today I'm here with John, as I said, from the United Patients Alliance, speaking about the incredible work that they're doing. So welcome, John. Tell us a bit more about yourself.
Thank you for having me. It's a privilege, and it's great to meet you, and it really is.
Definitely.
United Patients Alliance, we formed in 2014 in July with the help of Caroline Lucas MP and Professor David Nutt, who both came to our the opening night, as in fact did I. We formed in response to, there were no organisations out there who were purely focused on patient needs. Okay. So there were many organisations and many campaigning groups who were looking to get cannabis legalised for recreational purposes and had a medical aspect of their argument. But there was no group entirely focused on the needs of patients, and that's where United Patients Alliance came in. Because we're not, to be honest, and you can probably tell from our logo and everything else like that, we're not necessarily focused on the cannabis plant. You know, we are focused on supporting patients. And when we started, we were an activist campaigning and lobbying group. That's what we were moving forward to do. We wanted to bring patients who wanted to fight the cause. But very, very quickly, it became obvious that no one in this country was providing a support network. No one was providing groups in which patients can talk to each other about their experiences. And so very quickly we also became a support group. And now we have thousands of medical cannabis patients in our group who can freely talk about their experiences, and we're sharing a huge amount of knowledge.
Excellent. And I think that's so important for people to be able to understand what medical marijuana is all about and how we can really use it to support our health in many different ways, because there are many therapeutic benefits, obviously, that we can't speak about on the show, but that you speak about within your organisation to support people in getting their health and support that they need.
Well, it's one of the reasons why we must make sure we continue. We won't be selling CBD product, because one of the problems that the CBD industry has at the moment is they're selling a product which an awful lot of people find has a benefit for them or believe they have a benefit, but there are some strong restrictions as to what you can and cannot say about those products. And because we don't sell the product, then we can provide that information, and we can talk in a great deal more depth about what the latest research is, and what that tells us. And in fact, on our website we have a great section on, by the way, across the board, the benefits, therapeutic and medical benefits of cannabis, and we have a special section just on CBD, because the one thing that has become very obvious from our patient survey that we ran a couple of years ago is around about 10% of patients who report a benefit from using a cannabis product. They choose to use a THC-free product or a CBD product or a hemp product, because they find that very, very beneficial for their overall health, as I do myself, to be honest.
Definitely. Well, I haven't had any specific health concerns, but I've been using CBD for my health, because I believe it helps me to gain a balance and harmony in my whole body. Helps me get a clear mind when I'm not in clear mind, out of balance. But it really really helps me, feel better about myself. Clear mind and body at the same time. So,
well, I think we do know as we learn more and more about the endocannabinoid system and understand that it's a homeostasis system. It's a system. We won't go into detail of it now, but it's a system that maintains homeostasis throughout the whole body. And there are so many different receptors, different cannabinoids, different profiles that it seems reasonable. To be able to see what we're seeing is that the addition of a cannabinoid-based product, and so this is where we're talking about CBD and hemp food supplements, is necessarily going to help to activate, help to awaken, help to tone the overall endocannabinoid system, which is helping the homeostasis in the body. So that's why we are never surprised when someone comes up, uses a cannabinoid-based product, and then comes back and says, "Oh my goodness, this has been really good for me. This has really, really helped me," because it makes sense that it does.
And we've spoken about the endocannabinoid system quite a lot on the show, so it's really interesting to see that people are starting to understand that, which is important. And what I love the most is it is a real pleasure that you're supporting the podcast in many ways, because not only when people come to Optimal Hemp and speak to me about hemp and CBD, I can provide them with some great knowledge and information. But in order for them to, send some people your way in terms of getting really that deeper level of support that they can have without me having to worry about some of the concerns of sharing the things that I am.
Well, I think this is where we have an opportunity. I mean, one of the reasons why United Patients Alliance decided to get into having a proper look at the hemp and the CBD industry was, as I mentioned before, about 10% of our patients, they rely on some of these products to help them. And what we didn't want to see was certainly these products being removed from the market. But moreover, we were starting to get an increased number of patients and supporters coming to us and saying, what products can we trust? What companies can we trust? Because the whole industry is currently unregulated, which unfortunately has allowed for a few snake oil salesmen to pop up here and there. And we wanted to make sure that we can build, if you like, a list of companies that we've built a relationship with, we've met, we've had conversations, and now we can say to our patients, look, we can't recommend you a product. We're not going to be selling you a product. But we know that these companies, you can trust them. They're reputable. And most important to us, actually, is that they have the future of the hemp industry and the future of the cannabis industry at their heart. And they're adding value to the overall future of the industry. That's very, very important to us.
Definitely.
And they have compassion. There's a lot of businesses that are in this to make money. There's no reason why they shouldn't. It's a business and you can make money. But there's also, like yourselves and like a number of other companies that we've decided to align with and support. They're all companies who come from a background in wanting to make the industry better. They love the plants. They love the benefits that you can gain from it. And that's what we're trying to achieve, I think, with our involvement.
Definitely. And I love natural health and well-being as a whole. I've looked at many different ways of achieving like optimal health. That's in many reasons why I've called the company Optimal Hemp, because it's all about achieving optimal health. But what I love about
optimizing your endocannabinoid system.
Definitely, very true, very true. I'm gonna have to use that as a phrase on my website, But the great thing about you as an organisation, it also shines out to me that you're obviously very patient focused, so you're wanting to make a difference. But you also treat people with utmost respect in the industry, which is so important. And that doesn't just come down to patients, but it comes down to those organisations at which you support, because you're wanting to support organisations that sell these products. But that's really key.
But to doing it in the right way, and I think there's two aspects to that. So, firstly, thank you for saying so, because that's exactly what we are trying to do. Mm-hmm. But if we want to build the credibility and the trust that we need to build in order to be most effective, certainly in the Houses of Commons and the Houses of Parliament, we're sitting down meeting the Royal College of Pharmacology or the Royal College of Psychiatry. You can't be screaming, shouting cannabis campaigner. We can be, and we have the passion and we have that anger inside us, but we understand that in order to make progress, you have to respect the opinions of others. You can't just shout at them and call them wrong, even if they are. You have to have respect for that, and I think that goes right the way across the whole thing. And which is why we had some problems, because it's our philosophy that we want to be very honest about what we're about and what we're doing. Being honest about our subject meant that we couldn't get a bank account for 18 months. And 100 people told us we should lie, but that's not what we do.
No, honesty is trust, isn't it? Honesty is trust.
It is trust. And again, with the CBD industry, what we've seen is an awful lot of our patients coming back and they're being misinformed. They're not getting the right information out there. There's some odd ideas about how the regulations all work and things that are about there at the moment. But we've been working hard to try and understand from end to end, building relationships with all the authorities, and so that we can provide the companies who want to collaborate with us, but most importantly, our patients and our supporters with the right, truthful, honest information, and that's what we try to do.
Definitely, and working with the MHRA, it's important to know the legalisation of what we are able to sell, distribute, what we're allowed to say and what we're not allowed to say, and really, from your perspective, obviously supporting those people from the ground up. One thing I wanted to bring up was obviously you went over to Northern Ireland recently.
Oh yeah.
You went over to I think, where was it? Belfast.
It was Belfast, Queen's University, Belfast.
Tell us about what you were doing there.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, this was something, actually, our Northern Ireland chapter, as we'll call them, Northern Ireland United Patients Alliance, they formed in order to support the Patients of Parliament Bill on October the 10th last year.
Excellent.
And literally, they formed from nowhere. It was just, there's two guys, Pierce Donnelly and Neil Payne, who have just did an absolutely fantastic job over in Northern Ireland of pulling all the different groups together. They're all working together, even though they might hate each other and disagree with each other and everything. They've discovered that working together and finding commonalities works really well. And this thing in Northern Ireland, which was going to be the launch night of United Patients Alliance Northern Ireland, turned into something much bigger because of the great work that they did over in Northern Ireland. They actually had, although one of the parties, they stayed very quiet about it and have stayed secret, but all four of the major parties in Northern Ireland all agreed through this protest that cannabis as medicine is something that really needs to be addressed. And to be honest, I don't mind saying this, I think this constitutes the first thing all four parties in Northern Ireland have agreed on ever since Stormont formed. And so it's huge. And so what we were able to do, we did a medical cannabis summit in Northern Ireland where we had the most incredible speakers. I mean, we had Baroness Meacher, we had Professor Mike Barnes, we had Dr. Gibson from Ulster University, who's doing some research on cannabinoids and rheumatoid arthritis, and we had a couple of CBD companies there to show off what they do, and it was a fantastic event at a beautiful venue. And I think overriding, the one thing we can say for sure is our days of having to scrabble around for a dodgy little venue outside the Irish Centre or something, these days are over. It's going mainstream. And now we're being invited, and that's fantastic. So it was a great event.
No, it's really good, and it's showing that the campaign's moving forward each and every day, and not only in you see it moving forward around the world in many ways, don't you? But from you pushing it forward in the UK is transforming the UK market completely, isn't it, in many ways?
Well, I think we have been able to see, obviously because we're right at that forefront, and we're getting into some of those meetings and things like that we can actually see the change because it's happening in front of our eyes. And like I was saying about the Northern Ireland event, you go back 2 years, the only place we could really get a venue is in some dodgy club, or you got a dodgy little cafe down here, or a friends meeting house. Quakers have always been very good to us, but now we're starting to see. So with our AGM, we had that at a great hotel in Birmingham, and then this Northern Ireland conference at Queen's University. There's our friends at Voltfast who are doing a new one on May the 22nd, and this is going to be at the Barbican Centre in London. And the sorts of people that are engaging with this subject give us a lot of confidence that that things are changing, and we're right there making that change happen.
Fantastic. So it brings on to another subject. Back in, I think it was the end of November, the World Health Organization released a statement to say CBD has been known to have therapeutic benefits. How did that transform what it is that you do as a company, as a campaign group?
Well, it's interesting actually, because a little while ago, as I'm sure you will remember, the MHRA, I think it was in October a couple of years ago, last year, when the MHRA they came out and said CBD has medicinal benefits. Yeah. And actually, if the truth be known, that was a little bit inconvenient for the Home Office, because basically the MHRA just stated cannabis is medicine, which was brilliant. Yeah. But that was just referring really to the CBD industry with the MHRA anyway. When the World Health Organization came out with what is their pre-report on cannabis and CBD, for them to actually state in their pre-report, this has medicinal benefits. And I think they also made some very strong statements about its safety profile as well, which is also of great benefit. Now, for the World Health Organization to have said that, that has a natural knock-on effect to everything everywhere. Now, it's only a pre-report. What we need is the major report, and what we're hoping for is that Professor David Nutt and Professor Val Curran from Drug Science, who provided the World Health Organization, with their information for the pre-report, we're hoping they get commissioned to do the main report. Okay. If they do, I don't think we need to worry too much with Professor Nutt and Professor Val Curran that the right kind of guidance will come out of that.
Excellent.
We're hoping that will be completed by the end of this year. And if so, we're hoping the World Health Organization will recommend that cannabis is moved out of the main scheduling the way across the board. And that's superb, that's brilliant. That makes our job easier.
Brings me on to another question before we close out. We're coming towards the end of the show, but how does this place medical marijuana or medical cannabis in the place of prescriptions?
Right.
In doctor surgeries, people being able to say, I think this would be able to support you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said at the beginning, United Patients Alliance support legal access to cannabis therapeutics, and that's right the way from better access to Sativex at the one end to the freedom to grow your own at the other end, and everything in between. Yeah. And what we've got now with Paul Flynns' Elizabeth Bryce bill, for which our first protest was on October the 10th, that was passed, and now we're at the second reading, which is on February the 23rd. I do urge you all to come along on February the 23rd if you possibly can. It'll be a fantastic day, but it's a second reading of a very, very small bill. Now, it has to be small because it's a 10-minute rule bill, and they just can't be big. But also with 10-minute rule bills, they have to be implemented before the end of the parliamentary calendar. Okay. So this bill has to be tight. It can't start recommending we change this policy over here, because it'll just never happen. What it can recommend is rescheduling raw cannabis from Schedule 1. And we believe that's what the wording of the bill will be. We're actually working directly with Paul Flynn and his team on the wording of that bill. We're very, very nearly there. But Schedule 1 is the big problem. Schedule 1 defines raw cannabis as having no therapeutic or medicinal applications or benefits. So, doctors can't talk about it, not without risk of losing their license. Researchers can't research it without a special license. Charities, they can't talk about it because it's illegal, because it has no therapeutic benefits. As soon as it's out of Schedule 1, doesn't matter whether it's Schedule 2, 3, 4, 5, it really doesn't matter. Out of Schedule 1 means it now can have medical benefits. Doctors can talk about it. And with a few tweaks to our import regulations, we can actually start providing medical cannabis to patients through prescription from pharmacies by importing medical grade cannabis available in all sorts of forms all over the world already, from companies like Medicon and Tilray, and so it shouldn't be long before we can access cannabis as medicine in that regard.
And that's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic use, isn't it? It's just a real transformation of the industry is happening at this time. and it's all about health, isn't it? It's all about health.
It is,
well-being.
and I know there's a lot of people out there who want to find, they want cannabis legalized, and if I'm going to be completely honest, I do too. I absolutely believe that to be true, but that's not what United Patients Alliance are fighting for. We're focused on health. We're focused on patients, and we believe that that battle for cannabis and fuller drug reform is coming. Yeah. But we would like to remove the sick from the battlefield first. Yeah, no, definitely. But I think that's why many of us are in the industry anyway. We don't like seeing people, ill, seeing people suffer. And if there's any way we can support people, at least from my point of view, that's what I'm here to do. Yes, absolutely.
My background is clinical hypnotherapy. I used to work with people with mindset and helping them, transform some of their mental health. And over the years, I've learned so much about natural health and well-being, and to discover this beautiful and incredible plant that is hemp and cannabis, it's just transformed my mindset. Because there are many people, like, if we look back, let's say 10 years ago in my life, I could have looked at cannabis and said, this is, do not touch this stuff. It's absolutely terrible.
It's drugs.
It can, screw your head up or do whatever. But
and I mean, in terms of the mental health concerns that people have, we know from the evidence that we've got. So we've got Professor Mike Barnes, who's written this evidence, and it's been accepted by the APPG, and he characterises the risk of mental health with cannabis as, if you're a young person, probably under 15, and you're smoking large quantities of the strongest forms of cannabis, street cannabis, that's very high in THC, very low in CBD, over a long period of time, and you have a predisposition to a mental illness, then there is a higher risk of you exacerbating that mental illness at an earlier stage. So early onset, and there may be some risk there. But in all honesty, as the research says, to stop one case of schizophrenia or psychosis as a result of cannabis, you would have to stop 25,000 people from smoking cannabis at all for their whole life to stop one case. And in perspective, that makes it almost nothing at all. So whilst there are real health concerns, the very best way of mitigating that is to put it into the hands of doctors rather than the criminals where it is now.
Definitely, and I know we're coming towards the end of the show, but there's one thing that I wanted to mention there, and that's going back to California, because I was looking at the crime rates in California, and since they introduced, the complete legalization of cannabis, and it's gone down a considerable amount, which is great for the community there, isn't it?
Well, it is, and in fact, almost every measure that you can use to talk about the success or otherwise of legal cannabis implementation, almost every single measure has been positive. The one potentially negative figure that's coming out of some of these places, but I'd need to explain it because it's only a potential, is that a significant number more people are being caught driving with and being tested positive for cannabis. But actually, when you look at the number of accidents that are happening and the number of fatalities that are happening, that's gone down. And so more people are being caught with marijuana, cannabis, of course, because it's now legal. But actually, the number of accidents is less.
Very interesting.
And I mean, one of the aspects of that, obviously, is the criminal aspect. That people no longer have to go to the crime to go to criminals to get their medicine. Is one of the reasons why I was growing. Is exactly because I wanted to control the type of medicine that I was getting. And the one thing that I will say, and this brings us back to the beautiful hemp plant, is the actual holistic experience of planting a seed, tending to that plant, loving that plant, growing it, producing your own medicine, and then taking that medicine for you to heal yourself. There is something very, very beautiful about that end-to-end process, and that's one of the reasons why we do support Grow Your Own, and why we do support the broader benefits of hemp and its therapeutic application.
Definitely. Well, I will say thank you for sharing your knowledge, thank you for sharing information, and it's great to get some insights as to what the United Patients Alliance really stand for, what you're all about, and how you're really supporting patients, businesses and companies, and even working with the legalisation with the MHRA system. It's a pleasure.
It's an absolute pleasure. And if you want to learn a little bit more about United Patients Alliance, do come and find us online, www.upalliance.org. And join us on Facebook and any other social media channels, and we have a discussion forum where if you're a medical cannabis patient, you can come and talk and ask any questions you like. You'd be most welcome. We're all patients.
And one last thing to mention about that, all the links will be below this video if you're watching it on YouTube, and above this video if you're watching it on Facebook. But also all the links will also be available on the podcasting platform at which you're watching it on, whether that's on iTunes or any of like Stitcher Radio or even TuneIn, so you can find out more about the UP Alliance and anything that was mentioned during this podcast today. Thank you again for listening, and I do look forward to seeing you again next week.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Andy.
Cheers.
Great to meet you.
You too. And bye for now.
The United Patients Alliance and the Holistic Therapist magazine work in collaboration with the Optimal Hemp podcast to bring you new shows each and every week. The United Patients Alliance campaign for the legal access of medical cannabis for patients with chronic conditions. They also provide patients with information and resources that can increase the quality of their lives. Find out more by visiting upalliance.org. The Holistic Therapist magazine is a popular magazine designed specifically for the desires and requirements of practicing and studying holistic and contemporary professionals. They are the first magazine to cater for professional therapists who wish to keep up with industry news as well as develop their business skills in a contemporary industry. Find out more by visiting holistictherapistmagazine.com.